No. Alright. On to the biology more side of things. Incredible hydrothermal environment discovered deep beneath the earth. I mean, not the earth, the ocean. A stunning new wonderland has been discovered hidden deep beneath the ocean waves of the Arctic Circle. I'm so sorry, Norway. Off the coast of Svalbard in Norway, more than 3,000 meters or 9,842 feet down, a field of hydrothermal vents unfolds along the Knopfitch Ridge, an underwater mountain range previously thought to be fairly unremarkable. Instead, like underfloor heating, volcanic activity below the seafloor causes heat to seep through, creating havens of warmth and chemical reaction where life can gather and thrive. The field, measured in at least a kilometer in length and 200 meters width, has been named... Oh, God. Whatever Loki, I think, was the race that Loki was from, Juthal, for the giants of Norse mythology that live beneath the mountains. In this case, the giant is the Earth's internal processes released through the cracks in the sea floor. Water penetrates into the ocean floor, where it's heated by magma. The overheated water then rises back to the sea floor through cracks and fissures, explains marine geologist Gerhard Roman of the University of Bremen in Germany. On its way up, the fluid becomes enriched in minerals and materials dissolved out of the ocean's crustal rocks. These fluids often seep out again at the seafloor through tube-like chimneys called black smokers, where metal-rich materials are then precipitated. Hydrothermal vent fields are some of the most interesting undersea environments. They're usually very deep beneath the ocean surface, so far down that the sun cannot penetrate the vast volume of water above them. At these depths, conditions are permanently dark, freezing cold, and surrounded by crushing pressures. Can I make a Titan joke? Should I make a Titan joke? Anyways, this environment isn't exactly conducive to life. Oh, ask okay, here, ask Titan. The hydrovents act as strange oases. The minerals seeping out and dissolving into the water provide the basis for a food web reliant not on photosynthesis, as most life closer to the surface is, but chemosynthesis, harnessing chemical reactions for energy rather than sunlight. These environments make for a much more dynamic and thriving deep sea floor than might be expected, giving us a clue about how life might emerge on worlds very different from our own. Finding hydrothermal vents is important also for trying to protect the Earth's biodiversity, and learning more about how it functions, as well as understanding how the planet itself functions and changes over time. The geofield is located right on the boundary between two of Earth's tectonic plates, on which is known as the slowly spreading ridge. The plates are very... I wonder what the reason why it's called that. The plates are very slowly moving away from each other, which causes the crust to stretch and valleys and ridges to develop. Scientists have detected hydrothermal activity along almost all the ridges in north of Iceland, but the Knopfitch Ridge remained a glaring exception. That wasn't until 2022 scientists had seen hints of hydrothermal chemistry in the region, so they took a submersible that wasn't named the Titan, and also didn't have humans on it, a remotely operated vehicle to the ridge to see if they could find the source of it. They drove the Mariam Quest submersible more than 3 kilometers down to the sea floor, where it took images and samples of the water. And there they found the field, a large region of the sea floor with both extinct and active hydrothermal vents, and the telltale shimmer of volcanic heat seeping through the water. It's a magnificent find, one that fills a significant and previously puzzling gap in the hydrothermal layout of the Norwegian Greenland Sea. The hydrothermal field is the first to be discovered along 500 kilometers long, ultra-slow spreading Kanopovich Ridge, and is significant because it represents a new it's also called Loki's Castle. Link between active thermal systems of Loki's Castle at the bends of Mons and Kopovich Ridges and the Aurora hydrothermal field of the Gakkel Ridge. I hadn't read this before, so I mean, the fact that I made a reference to Loki in this... Since these fields are separate by a distance of more than 1,000 kilometers, the discovery of this hydrothermal field is important for understanding the chemosynthetic faunal community distribution. In addition to the news discovery, it can now help provide insights into ocean chemistry and how waters that clothe our world help circulate and distribute materials such as carbon. Actually, that is an older one. Alright, wild horses return to the Kazakh plain after centuries. Endangered wild horses have returned to the golden steppes of Kazakhstan for the first time in at least 200 years after decades-long efforts. The airlifts of 7 of Przewalski's horses from Europe to the Central Asian country took place in early June in an operation run by Prague Zoo. Sorry. Researchers told the BBC that the horses are already doing well 2 weeks in, roaming around the plains, and even beginning the mating process. Zoo officials say it's a triumph of generations of conservative work. This is an endangered species returning to the ancestral lands. A species which went extinct in the wild in the 1960s, last seen in Mongolia, so it's just marvelous. A miracle, Flip Musket, a spokesman for Prague Zoo. While the horses have slowly been reintroduced to Mongolia and China in recent decades, this operation marks the first time they're back in Kazakhstan. Yeah, nating. Because we keep making sex jokes all the way through this. I mean, it's one of those things of, I guess we're gonna keep making them. The Przewalski horse is the last wild horse species on the planet, named after Russian explorer Nikolai Przewalski, who was the first to identify the horse for European science community. The species originated a millennia ago from the steppes of Central Asia and was taken by researchers to Europe and North America in the 19th and 20th centuries, where populations were established in zoos. Some of them ended up in zoos in Munich and Prague. It's their descendants that now have been reintroduced to Kazakhstan. Yeah, it's all relevant. Cultural artifacts show people in the country's north were riding and using horses for food at least 2,000 years before records of domesticated horses in Europe. But by the time of Przewalski's discovery in 1879, the horses could only be found in a small section of western Mongolia. Competition with humans and livestock, along with the changes in environment, led to them dying out. Recognizing the threat, international efforts were made after World War II to save the animals. Prague Zoo was entrusted with the international studship of the breed. Cool. It introduced the first contingent back into Kazakhstan last week, a group consisting of 1 stallion and 6 mares. It aims to bring in at least 40 more over the next 5 years. This is an event of historical it's kind of pretty, isn't it? I like it. It kind of feels like a mix between donkey, kind of the look of donkey, to some degree. Says zoo director Moroslav Borek in a statement. The 7 horses we transport here by 2 Chez Army planes represent the first individuals of this species in central Kazakhstan in 100 years. A zebra without stripes. Zebras are apparently fucking mean. The Przewalski's horse has long been considered the one true remaining wild horse species. Species such as the American Mustang and the Australian Broombi are feral horses descended from domesticated animals. The Perwalski's horse is shorter and stockier than modern domesticated horses, and their genetic differences show that neither species are ancestors of the other. The Prague Zoo, which has spent the past decade and a half introducing the horses back to Central Asia, mainly Mongolia, I am not sure on that. Might have happened. I mean, I think they're more related to donkeys than they are horses. And said the Kazakhstan operations have been in the plan since 2022 after signing a deal with the local government. Last week saw the culmination of years of work. The Prague Zoo selected horses from different programs across Europe and put them together in the same zoo in Berlin, Tierpark Berlin, for several months to become acquainted before their journey. That then kicked off in June, with the military aeroplanes flying the standing horses in two groups on a 6,000-kilometer route that included stopovers in Turkey and Azerbaijan. Oh yeah, no. I remember seeing a picture of it. I just don't remember if it's a horse mated with a horse or a donkey. Or if there's two different ones where one of them is they rename one of them if it's the mother is a horse or the father is a horse, or vice versa. Kind of like the polar bear mix one. When they touched ground at the airport in Kazakhstan, they were taken on an 8-hour drive, fun, to the plains, where they then finally released onto the Altin and Dala. Speaking of golden steps, say I might after this stream shut the stream down for a bit and then jump into Final Fantasy XIV and stream that, but I want to keep a marked difference between the two of those, this one and the other. I haven't decided yet. The Meritessa was the first to run out of the transport box into the pin. Zonkies. Zonkies. Zoinks! Then West, followed by Umbra, and Salary brought the foursome to a close. On Thursday, zoo spokesperson Mr. Malax told that the horses, after some initial intrepidation, have begun to venture further afield. In a very good development, scientists this week also reported that some of the horses had begun to mate. The group has been moved in early summer, so they have time to adapt before winter, which is typically brutal on the plains. They'll be kept in a 60-hectare acclimation pen for the first year before released into the wider grasslands. Melsick said the zoo hopes to emulate the success of its Mongolia program last decade, where it introduced 34 horses. Introduction of 34 horses has helped boost the native population to now well over 850 animals. I hope that they're doing very... say they're creating enough of a genetic... I mean, I don't think that that amount right now would be creates a genetic bottleneck. They might, but it sounds like they're going to keep adding more. Researchers are optimistic and hopeful. He noted while human activity wasn't the sole reason for the horse's extinction, actions like hunting and breeding the species with domesticated horses accelerated their disappearance. We are still responsible for the fact that this wild horse disappeared, and now we can sort of reverse that and give it back to nature. He described it as the ultimate goal of a modern zoo, to be a sort of these Noah's Arks which have all these endangered species. If it's possible, and sometimes it's not, we should try and do everything to return them to their original environments. Alright. Rare 7-foot fish washed ashore on Oregon's coast garners worldwide attention. Look at that. Look at that. Look at it. Just look at it! I was just repeating the images, but damn. Goodhart, Oregon. A massive rare fish thought only to live in temperate waters in the southern hemisphere has washed up. The reason why I know it's a sunfish is because I blame Animal Crossing. Has washed up on Oregon's northern coast, drawing crowds of curious onlookers intrigued by the unusual sight. The 7.3 foot or 2.2 meter hoodwinker sunfish first appeared on the beach in Goodhart on Monday, the Seaside Aquarium said in a media release. It was still on the beach on Friday and remained there for weeks. The aquarium said, as it's difficult for scavengers to puncture through its skin. It's like, try harder, seagulls. Photos provided by the aquarium show a flat, round, gray fish lying on its side in the sand. Photos of a person kneeling next to it and another of a pickup truck parked beside it gave a sense of its large scale and size. The stir it created on social media prompted a New Zealand-based researcher who has studied sunfish to contact the aquarium. After looking at the photos of the fish, Marianne Negaret was able to confirm that it was indeed a hoodwinker sunfish, rarer than the more common ocean sunfish, and said she believed it may be the largest such fish ever sampled, according to the aquarium. In a research published in 2017, Yard discovered through genetic sampling and observation that the hoodwinker sunfish, or the Multateca, was a different species than the ocean sunfish, Mola mola. Teca means hidden or disguised, referring to a new species that's been hiding in plain sight, the aquarium said. A hoodwinker sunfish washed ashore on the California coast in 2019. It is washed ashore again more recently in California and Alaska as well, challenging the theory that it only lives in the southern hemisphere, the aquarium says. It's also likely that the fish is washed ashore in other parts of the Pacific Northwest, but were mistaken for more common ocean sunfish at the time. Alright, I love the look of this. Alright, 100-foot walking tree in New Zealand looks like an ent from Lord of the Rings, and it's the lone survival of a lost forest. An unusual northern ratata tree that looks like it's striding across the empty field has been crowned New Zealand's Tree of the Year. The giant plant that looks strikingly similar to an ent from the Lord of the Rings is centuries old. Isn't that so cool? The bizarre giant tree with a pair of leg trunks like that of an ent from Lord of the Rings has just been crowned New Zealand's Tree of the Year after strolling past the rest of the competition. Jokes! Quips! The strange tree, which has been nicknamed the walking tree because it looks like it's striding across a field, is a northern ratata, Metrosidereus robusta, one of New Zealand's tallest flowering tree species that can live up to 1,000 years. Its roots and long arm-like branches make the tree look ant-like, a fictional race of tree-like creatures that guard the forests of Middle-earth. Probably, yeah. The tree stands alone in the middle of a large paddock next to a cemetery. The ant went and killed a bunch of people! Sorry. Near Karamea, on the south coast of the South Island. It's around 105 feet or 32 meters tall, around the same height as a seven-story building, according to the New Zealand Tree Register. The walking tree was a clear winner, walking away with 42% of the public vote. It just strolled into the lead right from the start. Hardy har har. The walking tree is an exceptional feature and a prime example of remarkable trees that we, as New Zealanders, are fortunate to experience. Here's, I guess, a closer version of it. It's unclear how old the walking tree is, but award organizers noted that the lone survival of a forest that was cleared around 150 years ago. The farming family back then clearly thought it was special, so they left it. The northern Ratata species are epiphytes, a type of tree that starts life growing on the surface of a host tree. Oh, so it eats the host tree. The walking tree likely began life high up in the... See, people don't talk about plants being violent. Plants are violent. In the canopy of its host. It's just slow violence. The host, living off air and rainwater before it reached the ground. Its unusual root layout was likely caused by how it grew around its host tree, which probably died off centuries ago. That host tree is now gone. Well, probably a century ago, because they only said it, 150, or is it? What did they say they think the age? Or they didn't state that? The host tree is now gone, Calawater said. Maybe the tree was either very, very big, or maybe there had been another tree that fell and leaned against the host tree, and that's why the roots have split near the ground, giving it that walking appearance. Northern Reddita trees are endemic to New Zealand, and were once one of the most common species of the country's forests. However, their range has decreased over the last few decades and are now listed as nationally vulnerable. That's kind of pretty when they bloom. It looks like they don't have a picture of it when it's blooming. Estimate was 150, so it's not centuries old. In addition to deforestation, the main threats to northern Rattata are the invasive common bushtail possums, which destroy the trees by eating their leaves and gnawing at their roots. The tree is also threatened by hybridization with its closely related, oh god, I am so sorry, New Zealanders, Tokugawa trees, and are susceptible to myrtle rust, a pathogenic fungi native to South America that was detected in New Zealand for the first time in 2017. Oh no. No, I want the tree. I want the walking tree. Okay, the most pristine trilobite fossils ever found shake up scientific understanding of the long extinct group. Researchers have described some of the best preserved three-dimensional trilobite fossils ever discovered. The fossils, which are more than 500 million years old, were collected in the High Atlas of Morocco and are being referred to by scientists as Pompeii trilobites due to their remarkable preservation in ash. The paper, Rapid Volcanic Ash Entombment, reveals the 3D anatomy of Cambrian trilobites, was published in this Journal of Science. The trilobites from the Cambrian period have been subject to research by an international group of scientists led by, I am so sorry, again, Professor Abderzak E. Albani, a geologist based at the University of Poitiers and originally from Morocco. The team included Greg Edgecombe, a paleontologist at the Natural History Museum. Dr. Greg Edgecombe says that I've been studying trilobites for nearly 40 years, but I've never felt like I was looking at live animals as much as I have with these. I've seen a lot of soft anatomy of trilobites, but it's the 3D preservation here that's truly astounding. An unexpected outcome of our work is discovering that volcanic ash in shallow marine settings could be a bonanza for exceptionally preserved fossil. Let's see. That's cool. So it gives it the 3D. Yeah, they have the creepy fern things. Due to their hard, calcified exoskeleton often being well preserved in the fossil record, trilobites are some of the best studied fossil marine animals. Over 20,000 species have been described by paleontologists over the past 2 centuries. However, until now, comprehensive scientific understanding of this diverse group have been limited by the relative scarcity of soft tissue preservation. Owing to the fact that Moroccan trilobites were encased in hot ash in seawater, their bodies fossilized very quickly as the ash transformed into rock, meaning a similar end to the inhabitants of Pompeii following the eruption of Mount Vesuvius. The ash mold preserves each segment of their bodies, their legs, and even hair-like structures, that's what kind of creeped me out for a second, that ran along the appendages. The trilobites' digestive tract was also preserved after it filled with ash. Even small lamp-like cells attached to the trilobites' exoskin remained attached by fleshy stalks as they were in life. They had parasites. Lead author, I'm just going to say your last name, I'm so sorry. El Bani says, as a scientist who worked on the fossils from different ages and locations, discovering fossils in such a remarkable state of preservation within a volcanic setting was profoundly exhilarating. I think the pyroclastic deposits should become a new target for study, given their exceptional potential for trapping and preserving biological remains, including delicate soft tissues. These findings are anticipated to lead to significant discoveries about the evolution of life on our planet Earth. Using CT scans, that's a tomographic reconstruction. It's kind of cool. Using CT scans and computer modeling of virtual X-ray slices, the researchers have discovered that appendages found at the edge of the mouth have curved spoon-like bases, but were so small that they had gone undetected in less perfectly preserved fossils. In fact, it has been previously thought that trilobites had 3 pairs of head appendages behind their long antennae, but both Moroccan species in the study show that there are 4 pairs. A fleshy lobe covering its mouth, called a labrum, was documented for the first time in trilobites. One second. Sorry. I wanted to tear. What's a labrum? Labrum is a type of cartilage found in ball and socket joints, such as the shoulder and hip. It's a ring-like shaped structure that lines and reinforces the joint, providing protection, stability, and cushioning. Okay, that's cool. Or that doesn't... It's a... Okay. Co-author Harry Burks from the University of Bristol added, the results reveal an exquisite detail of clusterings of specialized leg pairs around the mouth, giving us a clearer picture of how trilobites fed. The head and body appendages were found having inward-facing battery of dense spines, like those of today's horseshoe crabs.